This is Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.
I shudder thinking how the world can be so cruel. And my voice to those who care. It's time we try, it's time we care, it's time to stand. It starts with a voice.
Welcome to the Special Chronicles show. My name is Daniel. I'm the founder of Special Chronicles, a Southern Tribal International Global Messenger of Special Olympics, and a ComEd EnergyForce Ambassador. This is episode 475 of the Special Chronicles show. SpecialChronicles.com is where you can go for links to follow Special Chronicles on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And be sure to also subscribe and rate and review this podcast, Special Chronicles, on Apple Podcasts, the iHeartRadio app, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a new episode that drops weekly, every Monday at 6 p.m. Central Time. You can also subscribe to our channel on YouTube to watch the live stream video episode if you want to see us side by side next to each other. You can watch us. You can subscribe to our channel on YouTube. And don't forget to hit the bell to be notified. And you can sign up for our newsletter to receive exclusive bonus content. Again, that's specialchronicles.com for links to subscribe and follow. I guess this week on the Special Chronicles show, we are in our 5th year of partnership with the ComEd EnergyForce Ambassador Program I should say at Special Chronicles. We are in our 5th year in partnership, and we are continuing our Energy Force podcast series where we speak with fellow Energy Force ambassadors and staff, and you get to hear. And we've got a little different angle spin this year. We'll be talking about COVID and the economy and how that relates with energy efficiency. So please put your so our guest this week is Carl Sanders from Easterseals. So please put your virtual hands together as we welcome Cardo back to the Special Chronicles show. Welcome back, Cardo. Good to have you back on the show, Cardo. Our listeners, I think we remember we had you on this podcast about a year ago. I think last spring we had you on, right?
Yes, that's correct.
So I'm sure we might have some new listeners that might just be coming across this podcast. And so for any new listeners, why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners, tell us what disability you were diagnosed with, and what organization that you are with, and your role at the ComEd EnergyForce Ambassador Program.
Okay. Yes, my name is Carter Sanders. I am 39 years old. I am the ComEd EnergyForce Ambassador for Easterseals. I was diagnosed with autism around 4 years old and with Asperger's syndrome when I was in my latter teens. My involvement in the disability community is through Easterseals as a former student myself, and now a part-time office assistant, in which I got the opportunity through its post-secondary program. I am also an athlete at Special Olympics through Marquette Park. In fact, I recently did the polar plunge.
Awesome. I bet that was a lot of fun to get in that freezing cold water. I know I've done the polar plunge a few times in the past as well, so that's always a good event, good fundraiser to be a part of. Share with us now a little bit about the mission of Easterseals. What is Easterseals all about for any listeners who might not know that much about what Easterseals is?
Easterseals primarily serves children with autism and their families. We provide general education, speech therapy, occupational therapy, social services, music therapy, behavior modification strategies, and job training. Our motto is all abilities, limitless possibilities.
Awesome. Well, that's such a powerful model to have, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners will. Hopefully, we late to that or get a lot out of, or might want to get more involved in the Easterseals, and we'll let you all know how you can do that at the end of the episode today. But tell us a little bit about how long you have been involved in Easterseals and how long you've been involved in the ComEd EnergyForce Ambassador Program. I believe you said that you've been involved with Easterseals first as a participant, and now you're an employee with Easterseals. So tell us how long you've been involved with Easterseals and with the ComEd EnergyForce Ambassador Program.
Yes, I have been a part of Easterseals overall since September of 1997 when I was 14 years old. I have been a part of the ComEd EnergyForce family since March of last year.
Awesome. And we've had mostly virtual digital engagements, but I know at the end of last year we had some in-person events with the holiday lights that we were able to go to, and I think we both did one of the holiday lights together at the Brookfield Zoo. Correct?
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Cold, but also a lot of fun. How do you enjoy being a ComEd ambassador? This is now your second year with the program. So
podcasts such as you and Lisa's. I also enjoy writing a newsletter about solar energy. I also recently made a flyer to save up energy tips for the winter. And like you mentioned, I did do a couple of in-person events such as the Brookfield Zoo tree lighting event. I also did an event in Navy Pier and Labor Day weekend and an event at a barbecue in Little Village over the summer.
Awesome. Well, we're going to get into some of those energy efficiency tips and maybe even some solar tips and after our break. But when we come back from this break, we will get to a little different angle than when we had you on the show last year, and that is talking about how COVID has affected you and the economy has affected you, and we'll get, of course, into how all of you listeners can benefit from these energy efficiency tips that Cardo and myself and the other ambassadors are all sharing with all you. Our guest is Cardo Santos. This is episode 475 of the Special Chronicles show. Conversation with Cardo will continue after the break. We're going to take a quick break from our conversation today to learn how you can become a Special Chronicles supporter so we can continue to produce this podcast. Support for Special Chronicles comes from listeners like you. As an independent public media podcast, Special Chronicles will always be there for you. Now we're asking you to be there for us. As a nonprofit independent media organization, we can only make programs like Special Chronicles with listener support. Our programs provide weekly, candid, honest, and inspiring conversations about the people with disabilities community that creates awareness, support, and advocacy within each week's episode. Listeners tell us our shows are an enjoyable and necessary podcast for the intellectual and developmental disability community and everyone else who is able to listen to stories about life from a different angle. Please, if you and your family love our weekly podcast, make a one-time, monthly, or annual gift of thanks today. Support this podcast at specialchronicles.com/give. That's specialchronicles.com/give. And now, back to the show to continue the conversation today. And back to the show. You're listening to the Special Chronicles show. This is episode 475. I think that's what I said that was. This is our Energy Force series. Our guest is Cardo Santos from Easterseals, fellow ComEd EnergyForce Ambassador. And Cardo, last year when we had you on this show, and we'll put links in the show notes to the episode that you were on last year. because I forgot which episode number that was, but we'll put links in the show notes if people want to go back and listen to that. I think we kind of gave our listeners an overview of your story, but now this year to kind of have a little bit of some new content on this podcast and this EnergyForce series. We're going to kind of change things up a little bit now, and as you know, for the past 2-3 years now, ever since 2020 COVID, the coronavirus has affected everyone from either from the sports that we compete in, Special Olympics, from our jobs, from our and even our roles in the ComEd EnergyForce Ambassador Program. So let's begin and have you tell us first, how has COVID affected your life in the past year?
Well, the past year or two was a period of uncertainty. Even though restrictions were slowly lifting, it is still necessary to take certain precautions to keep my loved ones and I safe from miscellaneous variants of COVID. Throughout the pandemic, I had to just wear masks everywhere I go, even when walking my dog. I use hand sanitizer whenever I get an opportunity to do so. I had to get used to the fact that this could be the new normal. It has also affected my involvement in Special Olympics, as I actually qualified for downstate in summer games in 2020, but of course it had to be shut down because of COVID. Mm-hmm. We recently got back into competition late last year, and it felt so good to be back.
Awesome.
We were able to continue, despite what's going on with COVID. We did not let it get our spirits down.
Awesome. Well, let's now kind of along those same lines. How do you, as you know, the coronavirus or COVID is still around us this year in 2022. So how do you see 2022 affecting your life with COVID?
Well, I've noticed the last couple of variants haven't been as long. Both the Delta and Omicron variants has been around for a total of 6 to 8 weeks at the most. Most people thought it would last longer. There was talk of a new variant out there right now. However, like the Delta and Omicron, I have a feeling it's not going to last long. I also have increased hope in the medical community coming out with vaccinations to come out with COVID and modifying vaccination guidelines in hopes to finally putting it into the pandemic once and for all.
Yeah, good. And kind of along those same lines, but now kind of switching gears slightly. And again, listeners, we're still talking about how COVID is affecting Carter personally through the past couple of years and this year in 2022. And let's kind of now switch good and talk a little bit now about Easterseals, and how have you seen Easterseals been affected by COVID?
Well, for one, Easterseals had to shift to remote learning. My last day before the shutdown was March 12, 2020. We were supposed to have spring break the following week. Little did we know this would be the last week of the 2019-2020 school year. Teachers, clinicians, administrators, clerical staff, and HR staff had to start working from home. Even though we were separated for 6 to 7 months, we were able to keep in contact with the people we normally work with, whether it be by Facebook Messenger or by email. We came back to Easterseals in October of 2020, but unfortunately we had to go back to remote learning and working from home after Thanksgiving due to a rise in COVID cases. We reopened in the middle of January 2021 and have stayed open ever since. Despite the events of the last 2 years, we, as a family of Easterseals, still have each other.
Good. Yeah, I'm glad that you were able to kind of switch gears a little bit, and along those same lines, how has Easterseals? Oh, I should say what you shared a little bit of what Easterseals has done, but maybe show us a little bit more about what Easterseals has done to keep everyone within your organization healthy and safe.
Well, Easterseals made sure all students and staff members had access to masks and hand sanitizers. We, like everyone else, and especially in 2020, we had to adhere to various social distancing guidelines, the typical 6 feet apart. For the first 6 months after returning, the security guard on call had to take our temperatures before we could even proceed. For a while, we operated on a hybrid schedule. We were in the building Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Every Wednesday, the janitorial staff at Easterseals had to thoroughly clean the school and sanitize it. Despite the mask mandate recently ending, we are still required to wear masks when we're in the building.
Good. It's good to see that Easterseals is taking these safety and COVID protocols with wearing a mask and hand sanitizer. We're going to now take a sponsor break because if it wasn't for our supporters, such as our partners and sponsors, such as the ComEd EnergyForce Ambassador Program, then we wouldn't be able to be behind the microphone. And when we come back, we will get into kind of along the same lines, but sort of about how the economy has affected us. And we'll also get into some energy efficiency and maybe even some solar tips. I think, Carter, you said in the introduction, in the first segment of the program today, that you've educated about solar in addition to energy efficiency. So our conversation with Carter, for ComEd EnergyForce Ambassador from Easterseals, will continue after the break right here on SpecialChronicles.com. We'll be right back. And hold that thought. We're going to take a quick break from our conversation today to hear a message from our partner. Support for Special Chronicles comes from ComEd. Special Chronicles is proud to partner with the ComEd EnergyForce Ambassador Program. The EnergyForce is the country's first energy efficiency education program designed for and taught by people with disabilities. ComEd is powering lives and really is powering us here at Special Chronicles to keep the lights on and our technology is powered on. As ComEd powers the lives of us, they're literally giving a voice to people with special needs. We thank ComEd for the generous support of our mission at Special Chronicles. Learn more at specialchronicles.com/ComEd. That's specialchronicles.com/ComEd. And now we return to our conversation. This episode continues right now. Oh, I didn't see you there. We're back. We're back. This is Daniel, founder of Special Chronicles, and for ComEd EnergyForce Ambassador. This is episode 475. Our guest is Carter Santos from Easterseals. We're going to now switch gears in this next segment, Carter, and talk a little bit about the economy. And over, as I'm sure a lot of you listeners know, over the past year, the economy has affected everyone. Inflation is the highest in history, which means that everything we buy costs us more money, while people are not making any more money. And nonprofit organizations such as Easterseals and Special Chronicles and so many others that are involved in the ComEd EnergyForce Ambassador and other nonprofits as well are struggling getting more donations as people have less money to donate to such missions and causes such as ours. Let's begin and have you share with us how has our current economy affected you?
It hasn't really affected me. However, I feel a lot of empathy for businesses affected by the pandemic, such as restaurants, hair and nail salons, libraries, health clubs, and other businesses that are considered non-essential. When those businesses shut down in the early part of the pandemic, many of those workers were out of work. There was no remote work option for those places of business. I feel that this has greatly affected their livelihood as business was at a standstill.
So along those same lines, share with us now how has our current economy affected Easterseals? Have you guys been getting a lot of donations coming in, or is that kind of maybe slowed down as people are not making that much? How has the economy affected Easterseals?
Well, Easterseals wasn't really affected by the economy. Some donations were still made, during Giving Tuesday around Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
Also, another reason why we weren't really affected is that because we were able to service our students remote when everything was shut down. When we finally came back, it felt like an emotional reunion. Despite the ongoing pandemic, it was business as usual when we returned.
Good. And what can we all do to make life better during these challenging economic times?
Well, to make sure we make life better during these challenging economic times, it is important not to waste a lot of energy and water. And it is also imperative to take advantage of the energy tips that we give to the community. We also should start eating more home-cooked meals instead of constantly going out to eat.
Good. And as a lot of you listeners know, high inflation has caused energy costs to go up for everyone. So as you know, Carter, one of the things that we do as EnergyForce Ambassadors is to educate our community, to educate our listeners about how they can save energy, how they can maybe use solar, which using solar energy is like those solar panels that you see on the on rooftops and those are excellent ways of how we can help to reduce the cost of our energy. And so what can we do as ComEd EnergyForce Ambassadors to help everyone control their energy costs? What are some of the energy efficiency tips that you or what can we do?
Well, we can spread the word about the importance of clean energy, and it is also important for everyone to make sure to turn off the lights when leaving a room. And if you can, use LED lights and use energy-smart appliances.
Good. And
don't over-rely on the air conditioner in the summer and the heater in the winter.
Excellent. Those are some excellent tips, and I'm sure a lot of you listeners will can get a lot out of. And do you feel we might be able to do in-person events this year, where we go in our neighborhoods, in our communities around the Chicagoland area, and share ComEd energy efficiency and solar tips, and or continue these digital engagements such as this podcast series? What are your plans for this year to share ComEd energy efficiency and solar tips? Maybe kind of walk us through some of what are some of your plans this year.
I plan to do more and more in-person engagements now that there are less restrictions due to COVID and with the weather finally starting to get warmer. I also plan to do more in-person engagements such as at Easterseals signature events such as the golf outing and some of the Wolves games who they consistently donate to Easterseals on a regular basis.
Good. Excellent. We're going to go ahead and take one final break. When we come back, we'll get into some final thoughts. And in this next break, all of you listeners are going to get to hear about some energy efficiency tips, and maybe even some solar tips, but mostly energy efficiency tips of some ways of that you can save energy, including some that you talked about, Carter, in this last segment. So when we come back, we will get into some final thoughts and a question I always conclude these conversations with. Our guest is Carter Sandos for ComEd EnergyForce Ambassador from Easterseals, and we will conclude the conversation after this final break with some energy efficiency tips, because that's one of the benefits that you all get, and thanks to ComEd for supporting Special Chronicles. So we'll be right back right here on the Special Chronicles show on Special Chronicles.
Hi, my name is Lisa Noble, and I'm a ComEd EnergyForce Ambassador and an athlete with Special Olympics Illinois.
Hi, my name is Daniel Spakowski, and I also am a ComEd EnergyForce Ambassador and founder of a company called Special Chronicles.
The ComEd EnergyForce Program is a program that hires people with disabilities to teach the public how to save energy and money.
It's the country's first energy efficiency program of its kind.
Saving energy is especially important while everyone is at home due to COVID-19. We're using more electricity than ever before. Just think about how many more times you are opening the refrigerator door these days.
And while the economy is stressed, it's more critical than ever to save money where we can. Following these tips can save energy and money in this time of COVID-19.
Wash your clothes in cold water and use the dryer sparingly.
Your dryer can take up to 7 times more energy than the washer.
Turn off and unplug any electrical devices or power strips you are not using.
Electrical devices can continue to zap power even when turned off if they're still plugged in. We call them vampire devices.
Use LED bulbs.
They use 25% less energy than incandescent bulbs and last up to 25 times longer, saving you lots of money over time.
Keep your refrigerator between 35 and 38 degrees.
And be sure to use Energy Star appliances.
And last but not least, check out ComEd.com/home savings for more tips and rebates.
Lisa and I would like to thank you for taking the time to listen to us today.
Remember, we are all in this together.
Stay healthy.
And stay safe.
Bye. We're back. Our guest is Carlos Santos for ComEd EnergyForce Ambassador from Easterseals. My name is Daniel, founder of Special Chronicles, and this is episode 475 of the Special Chronicles show. I always think how to keep track of which episode that we are on. But Carlos, as we conclude this episode, first, why don't you share with us what are your thoughts on how ComEd gets organizations such as Easterseals and Special Chronicles and so many of the other organizations that are involved with the EnergyForce program? Share with us your thoughts about how ComEd is getting involved with those of us with disabilities and being involved as ComEd EnergyForce ambassadors in our community.
I think individuals with disabilities being ComEd EnergyForce ambassadors promotes inclusion and increases representation within their organization. It gives those individuals a can-do attitude and the chance to bring pride to their organization.
Awesome. Excellent. And I'm sure ComEd is thankful that we all EnergyForce ambassadors, as we really do can learn a lot about energy efficiency, and we all able to educate the community about solar, educate the community about energy efficiency. Is there anything else that ComEd can do to help organizations and help individuals with special needs, such as you and me and the other ambassadors with disabilities? What is there anything else that you think that ComEd can do?
I think they can add more organizations and see if other people from those organizations can represent the organization as ComEd EnergyForce ambassadors. I think they also should provide internships and employment opportunities to our ambassadors.
Excellent. So I'm sure, hopefully, if Sean from ComEd or anybody else is listening to this, they can take note of some of those ideas that you just shared with us. It's been a joy to have you back on the Special Chronicles show, Carlo. Do you have any final thoughts on your overall time here today? Your second time being on the Special Chronicles show that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yes. Plugs for my organization.
Well, just some final thoughts first. and then we'll get to those plugs. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, it has been a pleasure once again to being on your podcast, Daniel. And it is also a pleasure of me being the ComEd EnergyForce Ambassador for Easterseals.
Awesome. And speaking of those plugs, where can our listeners learn more about Easterseals and the ComEd EnergyForce Ambassador Program?
You can learn about us at Eastersealschicago.com and our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Awesome. I update that link because I didn't have the right link, and I'm glad that you shared it with all of our listeners. So that's Eastersealschicago.com is where they can learn more about Easterseals, right?
It actually is org.
Oh, .org. Let me update that again. That's why you are the expert. Yeah. That's fine. So Eastersealschicago.org. Eastersealschicago.org is, there we go. That sounds more like it. So we'll make sure to include that link in the show notes. If you're listening to us and you're driving or you're walking and you don't have time to write it down, look in the description below or go to specialchronicles.com/podcast475 and you can find those links and to get involved in Eastersealschicago.org. And if you want to get involved or learn more about the ComEd EnergyForce Ambassador Program, maybe you might know of an organization that serves those of us with disabilities that might want to get involved or just learn more about the program. ComEd.com/EnergyForce is where you can go. Correct?
Yes.
Carl? Yes.
Yes.
So, and we'll make sure to include those links as well in the show notes. And if you want to listen to more conversations with our fellow ComEd EnergyForce ambassadors, you can listen to our entire EnergyForce podcast series right here on this podcast, Special Chronicles, at specialchronicles.com/EnergyForce. That's specialchronicles.com/EnergyForce is where you can find and listen to all those past episodes, past conversations. I think we did about 12 episodes last year, and we've got some other previous episodes. So go over to specialchronicles.com/EnergyForce if you want to listen to more conversations related to the ComEd EnergyForce Ambassador Program. And final question I had that we always conclude these conversations with, and I'll do the same with you, Cardo, as well. I think we might have concluded when the episode that you were on last year, we might have included the conversation with the same question. So you might have answered this last year, but we'll have you answer it again because why not? And to introduce that final question, we've got a bumper. So let's go ahead and roll that bumper.
We're not just athletes.
We are the ambassadors of an uprising.
Peaceful protesters.
In a rebellion against anyone
who has a fear of difference. Difference.
Our demands are
equality,
dignity, and the recognition of our shared humanity.
We will not stop
or accept anything less.
Today, our world is
more divided than ever.
And coming together has never been more urgent.
The revolution
is inclusion.
Find out more at jointherevolution.org.
And as you could hopefully tell, and I'm sure as our listeners could probably tell by that bumper, the final question that I've been concluding these podcasts, these conversations with ever since I came back from the 2019 Special Olympics World Games in Abu Dhabi, is talking about inclusion. Because as you know, inclusion is a big part at Special Olympics, is a big part at Special Chronicles, and even with the ComEd EnergyForce Ambassador Program, inclusion is a big part of all movements and what we're about. So we'll conclude with you, Cardo, as well. What does inclusion mean to you?
To me, inclusion means including people with disabilities and other minority groups in society and not making them feel left out or less than. Inclusion gives people an opportunity to be the best they could be and bring out their fullest potential.
That's a perfect way to wrap up this episode. But enjoy to have you on, Carlo, and I'm sure we'll have to have you again, or maybe when we're at an in-person event, we'll have to record a podcast in person together. I think that would be a lot of fun. Maybe as we're talking with the community at a table, we can have the microphone out and actually record a podcast in person. That could be a lot of fun. So for any of you that are listening, again, specialchronicles.com is where you can go for links to follow Special Chronicles on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And join in the conversation there on our Instagram or Facebook or Twitter pages, and let us know what you think of this episode, and if you have any comments on what Carlo has shared with us, let us know on our social media pages, or you can email feedback@specialchronicles.com and let us know. You can also rate and review this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Go ahead and leave us a 5-star rating and review. And you can also comment on the live stream of this episode on YouTube. And don't forget to hit the bell to be notified on YouTube. You can find all those links to subscribe and follow on specialchronicles.com. And make sure you also sign up for our newsletter. One of these days, I will get another newsletter out. So make sure to go sign up for our Special Chronicles newsletter, and you will receive exclusive bonus content. Again, specialchronicles.com/podcast475 is the show notes for this episode. We'll put links of how you can get involved with Easterseals and how you can get involved with the ComEd EnergyForce Ambassador Program. So we'll put all those links in the show notes for this episode 475 on specialchronicles.com. We'll be back next week with another EnergyForce Ambassador, and as our series, EnergyForce series continues next week right here on SpecialChronicles.com. We'll see you next week, and until then, choose to include. See you next week. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Special Chronicles Shows podcast. Visit SpecialChronicles.com to follow Special Chronicles on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and don't forget to hit the bell to be notified of new episodes. Also, subscribe to our newsletter mailing list to sign up for our updates and get exclusive content delivered to your inbox. Remember to do what you do with these podcasts. Subscribe or follow and rate and review Special Chronicles on Apple Podcasts, the iHeartRadio app, and wherever you get your podcasts. Finally, please share this episode and all of our podcasts with your friends and family. Help us grow our audience and reach 5,000 downloads of our audio podcasts and over 14,000 average monthly listeners. Have a great week, and we'll see you back here next week with exciting new guests. See you next week.
Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.